It was just a normal evening while we were on patrol. The radio was calm with just the occasional static breaking the silence. My partner Mike and I were joking about the local sports team's latest loss. The streets were quiet, and the crescent moon barely illuminated the road ahead. Little did I know how the night would end, or the horror that lay in wait. As we turned the corner near Elmwood Park, a frantic call came over the radio. All units, proceed to Ashbury Lane. Multiple reports of an assault. Suspect described as wearing a clown costume. A clown? At first, it seemed like a prank, but the urgency in the dispatcher's voice signaled otherwise. Mike and I exchanged skeptical looks, but floored the pedal towards Ashbury Lane. The scene that greeted us was out of a twisted carnival. Three victims, visibly shaken and one bleeding profusely from a gash on his arm, all pointed down the shadowy lane where tall oaks loomed like silent sentinels. He had this crazy laugh, one of them muttered, her voice trembling. It was chilling. We called it in, and backup was on the way. But something about the urgency of the threat and the victims' panicked states propelled us forward. We advanced with our hands poised on our holsters, each step crunching on the fallen leaves, every shadow a hiding spot. The wind seemed to carry a faint echo of twisted laughter. As we ventured deeper, the dim beam from our flashlights danced across the old, gnarled trees and bushes. Suddenly, a figure dashed across the beam, a flash of white and red. Before we could even shout a warning, the eerie silence was shattered by that manic laughter echoing around us, disorienting in its source. "Police! Stop!" Mike yelled. We chased the figure as it weaved through the trees, disturbingly agile. The chase felt endless. The heavier our breaths became, the louder and closer the cacophonic laughter echoed. It was all encompassing, swirling around us as if the trees themselves were laughing. We stopped. The laughter stopped. We found ourselves at a clearing, the moonlight breaking through just enough to reveal an old, crumbling circus tent that seemed to appear out of nowhere. The entrance flapped in the wind, as if beckoning us. It felt like stepping into another world, a trap laid by the crazed clown. Drawing our guns, we approached cautiously. Inside, it was like every sinister childhood fear come to life. Dim lights flickered sporadically, casting long, twisted shadows that seemed to writhe in anticipation. Pictures of clowns adorned the walls, each with eyes that followed your movement. "Come out!" Mike commanded. No answer, just the soft flutter of the torn canvas sides. From the eerie silence, the laughter sprung to life right behind us, louder and more horrifying than before. We spun around only to see what nightmares are made of. The clown, towering, his makeup grotesque with a sinister smile that stretched unnaturally wide, his eyes piercingly insane, held a bloodied knife. Before we could react, he lunged at Mike, knocking him down. I fired, missing in my panic as the clown turned his maniacal gaze towards me. His laughter mixed with my shouts, creating a discordant symphony of terror. I stumbled back, hitting the ground hard, my gun skittering out of reach. As he advanced, the last thing I saw was the knife descending, the clown's maniacal laughter echoing in my ears, and then darkness, complete and utter darkness. As the tale ends, my subtle hope, and perhaps yours too, is that this is just a recount of a ghastly nightmare. But if ever you hear laughter on an eerily quiet night, remember this story and beware the clown. As the rain hammered down on Willowdale's quiet streets, Officer Samantha Blake clocked in for what she thought would be another routine night shift. The small town had its share of minor disturbances, but nothing that the seasoned officer couldn't handle, or so she thought. Around midnight, a crackling voice broke through the static of her cruiser's radio. "Disturbance reported at 45 Maple Street. Caller reports a man in a clown costume causing a commotion." Samantha sighed, figuring it was probably just some local teenagers messing around before Halloween. Arriving on the scene, she saw the silhouette of a tall figure. The clown, soaked from the rain, turned towards her slowly, its painted face grotesquely smiling under a flickering streetlight. Something about his presence sent chills down Samantha's spine, but she stepped out of her cruiser, hand resting on her sidearm. "Evening, sir. We've had some calls about—" Before she could finish, the clown started juggling bright neon balls, the thuds of them echoing unnaturally loud in the empty street. Samantha's instincts screamed that something was off. "Sir, I need you to stop and put your hands where I can see them." Ignoring her commands, the clown stopped juggling and began to giggle, a high-pitched sound that turned into a hacking cough. Then, with alarming agility, he sprinted down an alley. Samantha pursued, her footsteps splashing through puddles. As she rounded the corner, her flashlight beam caught the clown climbing a fence, vanishing over it with a final, echoing laugh. The next few hours led Samantha on a bizarre chase through Willowdale. The clown appeared everywhere she went, always slipping away at the last moment, as if he could predict her moves. Her radio remained eerily silent. Backup never came. It felt personal, and Samantha knew this was no ordinary prankster. In desperation, Samantha headed to the old fairground on the outskirts of town, remembering that the clown had dropped a ticket stub from the defunct Willowdale Carnival. As she entered the decrepit fairgrounds, the smell of cotton candy bizarrely filled the air. The clown was there, waiting in the middle of the abandoned carousel, still and silent. "Why are you doing this?" she demanded, her voice steady despite her pounding heart. The clown's smile faltered, his eyes revealing a hint of sadness. "I used to make them laugh," he spoke with a gravelly, haunting voice, "until they forgot how to laugh. You never forgot, did you, Sammy?" Samantha froze, staring at him. Recognition dawned, followed by disbelief. "Uncle Marty? But you vanished. We thought you ran away?" "I did. But I came back for you, Sammy. I wanted to see if you remembered the magic," he murmured, stepping off the carousel. Samantha's memories rushed back. The days her uncle, a professional clown, had taught her juggling and magic tricks before his sudden disappearance 5 years ago. Why terrify the town? Why terrify me? To see if you believed in the magic still, in the unseen, the improbable, in stories, Sammy. It's all a story, isn't it? The night was still, the rain had stopped, and only the creaking of the carousel broke the silence. Uncle Marty, or what was left of him in that clown, approached her, his makeup smeared by the rain, revealing more sadness than madness. Samantha, unable to arrest what remained of her once beloved uncle, watched him disappear once again into the shadows of the fairgrounds. She knew he would never hurt her, but others might not be so lucky. The radio crackled back to life, jolting her. "Blake, all clear?" She stared into the darkness where the clown had vanished. "All clear," she replied, knowing it wasn't true. As Samantha drove back to the station, her mind whirled with the night's madness. But one thought was clear. She would have to return, search deeper into this mystery. And somewhere, in the shadows, her uncle's laughter echoed, a promise that their story was far from over. I've been on the force for over a decade, but nothing prepared me for the Archer Avenue disappearances. It started with a trickle, missing posters peppering street lamps, faces staring back at morning commuters. But as autumn bled into winter, the trickle turned torrential. 6 people vanished within 3 months, all within a 5-mile radius. I was assigned the case, and man, I wish I hadn't been. The first break, or what seemed like a break, came with a tip from a nervous teenager. Said he'd seen one of the missing Clara Milson getting onto an old, faded panel truck. What caught his eye was the driver, a figure with a grotesque clown makeup, something straight out of a nightmare. I chalked it up to an overactive imagination fueled by too many horror flicks. Clowns? Seriously? But then another witness came forward, then another. All descriptions bore a sickening similarity: a clown driving that eerie, dilapidated truck. Reluctantly, I pulled records of any vehicular and costume related incidents. That's when I found it. A local performer, Laughin' Larry, had owned a similar truck. He was popular at kids' parties around Archer Avenue before he, too, disappeared. Vanished into thin air. No, not vanished. Found dead under mysterious circumstances a year ago, right before the disappearances started. The case had gone cold, and now I wondered if it was ever really closed. Nights grew longer and my obsession deeper. My breaks filled with poring over maps and missing persons reports, searching for patterns or clues overlooked. Then it hit me. All the disappearances happened within a 2 mile stretch of the old carnival grounds, long abandoned but once Laughin' Larry's favorite haunt. I got a warrant and went there at dawn. The place reeked of decay and old laughter turned sour. There, hidden amongst overgrowth, was the truck, rusted but unmistakable. Just as I approached, the door creaked open. Nobody there, but a cold breeze hit me like a fist, carrying a whiff of something rotten. Inside, I found personal items belonging to the missing: watches, jewelry, a tattered doll, all carelessly discarded like forgotten dreams. The reality of what I was dealing with, that this might not be someone impersonating a clown, but something far unearthly using Laughin' Larry's guise, chilled me to the bone. Had Larry come back, his last act on earth so full of laughter morphed by death into something foul? I called for backup, refusing to stay alone as dusk approached. Laughin' Larry was meant to be dead, but here was evidence to the contrary, or so it seemed. As the sun dipped below the horizon, a sudden movement in the rearview mirror caught my eye. A pale, painted face, eyes hollow with a perverse glee. I spun around, heart hammering, only to see the brush swaying innocently in the wind. Nothing else. We sealed off the area, called in every available unit to dig deeper into Larry's life, his death, his debts to the living. The disappearances stopped as abruptly as they had started. We never caught anyone, never found more than the grim trophies left in the truck. Every now and then, when the sky turns the color of bruises, I drive past the old carnival grounds. The locals avoid it, say it's cursed. I believe them. I knew from day one I was hunting a predator. I never imagined it would be a ghost.